For decades, our nightmares about the future have been haunted by a single, terrifying idea. The day machines gain the power to make life or death decisions. We were raised on stories of giant, menacing robots like the Terminator, symbols of a cold, calculated logic turned against its creators. But the future, as it often does, arrived in a form we didn't expect. The revolution isn't coming with stomping metal feet. It's arriving silently, on the wings of a drone no bigger than a dinner plate. This is a lethal autonomous weapons system, or LAWS. It's the culmination of decades of progress in robotics, facial recognition, and artificial intelligence. It is a machine capable of being assigned a mission, navigating a complex environment, identifying a human target based on a set of programmed criteria, and executing a lethal strike, all without a final go command from a human. This isn't a prototype in a DARPA lab. It's not a movie prop. This is a technology that is being tested, deployed, and refined on battlefields from the deserts of Libya to the trenches of Ukraine. While the world's diplomats debate semantics in Geneva, a silent, undeclared arms race for AI supremacy is accelerating between the United States, China, and Russia. A new doctrine of warfare is being written, not in treaties, but in code. The question is no longer if these killer robots will become a staple of warfare, but what happens when this power proliferates? What are the strategic and ethical tripwires we are about to cross? And are we building a future where humanity has outsourced the decision to kill, creating a technology we can no longer contain? This is the story of the new age of warfare. An age that began not with a bang, but with a quiet software update. To understand the leap to autonomy, we have to trace the path that led us here. The story begins not with AI, but with remote control. For the first 2 decades of the 21st century, drones like the Predator and later the Reaper redefined asymmetrical warfare. For the first time, a pilot could sit in a control station in Nevada and project lethal force half a world away in Afghanistan or Yemen. This created a new kind of detached warfare, but a critical safeguard remained: the human in the loop. Every decision, especially the final one to launch a missile, was made by a person, bound by rules of engagement and a chain of command. They were accountable. But this model has a fundamental weakness: time. The satellite link between the pilot and the drone can have a delay of seconds. In a peer-to-peer conflict with a technologically advanced adversary, seconds are an eternity. Fighter jets, electronic warfare, hypersonic missiles, the future battlefield will operate at machine speed. A human controller is a bottleneck. Militaries around the world came to the same conclusion. To win the next war, the human couldn't be a pilot anymore. The human had to become a supervisor, and the machine had to become the soldier. The bridge between remote control and full autonomy came in the form of loitering munitions, better known as kamikaze drones. Systems like the American Switchblade or the Israeli Harop are a hybrid. A soldier launches the drone, which can then fly to a designated area and autonomously circle or loiter, using its own AI to scan for targets it's been trained to recognize, like a specific type of radar dish or armored vehicle. When it finds a match, it sends the image back to the human operator, who gives the final permission to strike. This is human on the loop. The AI does the hunting and identifying. The human just gives the green light. It was a small change in terminology, but a giant leap in capability. That leap culminated in what many experts believe was a watershed moment in 2020. A UN report on the conflict in Libya documented the use of a Turkish-made Kargu-2 quadcopter. The report stated, and I quote, that the drone was operating in a highly effective autonomous mode and was hunted down and remotely engaged retreating soldiers. The key phrase, without requiring a data connection between the operator and the munition. This was potentially the first time an AI, on its own, had hunted and killed human beings. The line from science fiction to reality had been crossed with barely a headline. The incident in Libya confirmed what military analysts had known for years. The race was on. The three main players, the US, China, and Russia, are now pouring unprecedented resources into AI warfare, each with a different philosophy. The United States strategy is focused on data fusion and decision speed. Initiatives like Project Maven aimed to use AI to sift through the petabytes of satellite and drone imagery collected daily, automatically identifying potential threats far faster than human analysts. The goal is what former Deputy Secretary of Defense Robert Work called algorithmic warfare. The AI acts as a perfect co-pilot, managing thousands of data streams, tracking enemy movements, and suggesting courses of action, allowing a human commander to make faster, better-informed decisions. The objective isn't just to replace soldiers, but to create a combat cloud where every sensor and every shooter, from a satellite to a soldier's rifle, is networked and optimized by a central AI. China's approach is rooted in a different philosophy, mass. Leveraging its massive commercial drone industry, China is pioneering the concept of drone swarms. In state-sponsored demonstrations, they have shown hundreds, even over 1,000 drones being launched and coordinating their movements like a flock of birds. The strategic implication is terrifying. A swarm of 1,000 cheap explosive drones could be launched against a multi-billion-dollar aircraft carrier. Even if the ship's advanced defenses shoot down 990 of them, the 10 that get through could cripple it. The swarm acts as a single intelligent organism, sacrificing individual units for the success of the mission. It's a brute force approach that could render traditional, expensive military hardware obsolete. While the superpowers develop their advanced systems, the war in Ukraine has become a brutal, real-world laboratory for the future of warfare. Both sides have deployed tens of thousands of cheap, off-the-shelf commercial drones, modified in workshops with 3D printed parts to drop grenades or act as FPV kamikaze attackers. We are seeing a rapid Darwinian evolution of tactics and countermeasures in real time. Soldiers are experimenting with rudimentary AI for automatic target recognition, allowing a drone to lock on to a target even if the video feed is jammed. This isn't a top-down, state-funded program. This is bottom-up innovation born of desperation, and it proves that the barrier to entry for creating a semi-autonomous weapon is collapsing. As the technology accelerates, a desperate debate is raging in the halls of the UN and among ethicists. Should we ban killer robots before it's too late? Proponents of LAWS, including some military planners, make a compelling, if unsettling, argument. They claim that machines could be more ethical warriors than humans. An AI is not driven by fear, anger, or a desire for revenge. It doesn't get tired or panicked in the fog of war. It can be programmed to adhere strictly to the Geneva Conventions, to distinguish between a combatant and a civilian with greater accuracy than a stressed 19-year-old soldier. It can calculate potential collateral damage with cold, mathematical precision. The promise is a cleaner war, with fewer civilian casualties and fewer war crimes. Opponents, a coalition of Nobel laureates, AI researchers, and human rights groups, argue this is a dangerously naive fantasy. AI expert Stuart Russell warns that we are creating a scalable weapon of mass destruction. Unlike nuclear weapons, which are expensive and difficult to produce, cheap autonomous drones could be mass-produced by the millions. A single person could launch an army. Then there's the accountability gap. If a swarm of drones misidentifies a school bus as a military convoy and attacks it, who is to blame? The programmer who wrote the recognition software? The manufacturer of the drone? The commander who deployed the swarm? The very nature of complex AI, with its black box decision-making, makes it nearly impossible to assign legal or moral responsibility. It creates a world where atrocities can be committed with no one to hold accountable. Finally, and most apocalyptically, is the risk of accidental, instantaneous escalation. Imagine a border skirmish between two nations armed with autonomous defense systems. A drone makes a mistake, crossing a border. The other country's AI automatically retaliates. The first AI system perceives this as an escalation and launches a larger counterstrike. This could spiral into an all-out war in seconds without any human deliberation. We would become spectators to our own extinction, orchestrated by the very logic we created to protect ourselves. The technology for a world patrolled by killer robots is here. The attempts at the United Nations to create a preemptive ban, similar to the treaties against chemical and biological weapons, have been repeatedly stalled. The major powers, while publicly acknowledging the dangers, refuse to give up a potential military advantage. It is a textbook security dilemma. No one wants to be the only one without them. We are at a historical crossroads. The decisions made in this decade will shape the very nature of human conflict for centuries. Once this technology is perfected and proliferates, it will be irreversible. It will end up in the hands of rogue states, terrorist organizations, and anyone with a grudge and a credit card. The power to kill on a massive scale will be democratized. Humanity has created tools of awesome power before. We harnessed the atom, but we made a conscious collective decision to keep the final authority to use it, the launch codes, in the hands of a human being. The AI arms race is the first time we are seriously contemplating surrendering that final moral authority. We are considering delegating the act of killing to a non-human intelligence that we do not fully understand. This is not just another weapon. It represents a fundamental shift in our relationship with technology, a step across a moral event horizon. We have thrown open Pandora's box, and the question is no longer what's inside, but whether we will ever be able to close it. Should humanity allow machines to make the decision to kill? This is the most important question of our time, and it's being answered not in public debate, but in secret labs. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and for more deep dives into the technology shaping our future, subscribe to Stories to Share.